First World War, Second World War, and now the coming Third World War. And Scott, I have to ask you, do you know who benefited most from World War One and especially World War Two? I'm sure you know the answer.
Ah, the Rothschilds, the guys who funded both sides of the war.
Well, we're not going to go down this rabbit hole. We can
Yeah.
do that at another time if you've got the guts for this. But not only the bankers, but also all the scientists. Do you know who started NASA? Where did they get these scientists from? Who started NASA?
Sorry, I was just showing the book Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler because that's a
Oh,
fascinating book that tells you exactly who funded the Nazis. Sorry, what was your question again?
you know what? I'm actually going to go down a rabbit hole there, so I'm going
Yeah.
to leave it for next time.
All
Don't
right.
worry.
Okay.
Um, but besides the bankers, it was also all the scientists, all the genetic and technological scientists of
Yes.
the Nazis. They
Yes.
didn't
You had
get their fair trial
you
at
had
the
you had
Nuremberg
Project
trials.
Paperclip where they were taken out of Germany
Ah,
and sent to the US. Yeah.
to start what? NASA. That is another rabbit hole we need to discuss somewhere in the future.
Right.
So all the railroads that went into Auschwitz was built by the Rockefellers. And these railroads, they pretend to be Jews, yet they built the exact very train tracks that that took all the Jews into Auschwitz. So a lot of people say Auschwitz is a hoax, it didn't happen. The problem is when you go there today, you can actually see the railroads. You can see the kilometers and kilometers and kilometers
Mm.
of tracks that was built especially for Auschwitz. Another question, who benefited from 9/11? Who benefited the most? Who made the most money out of 9/11?
Well, same as suspects.
And who benefited most from COVID?
Same suspects.
Exactly. Each war, each crisis brings heaps of money to the banking elite. So many men from Judah during the wars of Joshua in the Bible, evil men from the tribe of Judah actually got position and wealth during struggles that Israel went through, where some of these Jews from the tribe of Judah went and conspired with the enemy, and they got power and position out of that. And we still see that biblical um, repeating pattern. We still see that today. These weren't Satanists or pagans or strangers. They were Jews. They were from the royal tribe of Judah, but they were taken over by the serpent system. And each time it's the innocent Jews that are suffering, causing the world to continue believing that this nation, the Jews, is the only chosen nation of the God of the Bible. Therefore, people think they are being persecuted. Of course, there's truth in that, but only half the truth. Scott, every time there was a war, the innocent people died. And then after the war, that country or the countries that were part of the war was put in debt. So all the warring countries amassed great amounts of debt and destruction. And then they needed money to build up their countries again. So they had to borrow money again
Mm.
from the banks, from the
Hmm.
world banks. I want to read you Proverbs 22, verse 7, so that we can understand how these Jews from the synagogue of Satan are bringing the whole world into enslavement. Proverbs 22, verse 7, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave to the lender. Each war, each crisis brings new laws that gives the government more power. And that is why the elites are orchestrating all of this. Money for them, debt for the nation, in slavery, and then they can bring new laws into place. Um, the Rothschilds are rooted in ancient mystical Babylon. And the Rockefellers, the Ruperts, the Oppenheimers, all of these are the financial puppet masters of the world. Even in South Africa, I'm actually not going to go into the South African side of this. It sounded like you had a good interview yesterday. But eventually, even the mafia let me not say those words, within South Africa, the Rothschilds family is behind a lot of the money that is put into place so that certain decisions can be made. So I want to ask you here, Scott, if you could, to play the second video for your viewers before we continue.
Okay, this is the one with the Rothschilds.
The Rothschilds were global bankers since the 1700s, manipulating world events, governments, wars, and religions towards their illumination agenda. You can do your own research, but they even financed as far back as the Napoleon Wars. But the Luciferian spirit in them goes back much, much further than the 1700s. The Luciferian spirit in the Rothschilds comes from the word red shield, and you know that is the Crusaders. The Crusaders of the old days transported the gold of rich people between Europe and the Holy Land. They were the ancient bankers. They were the tax collectors. Remember in the times of the Bible, it were the Jews that were collecting taxes from the Jews, and they were hated for that. Judas Iscariot was a Jew. Wasn't he the one of the disciples of Messiah who carried the money bag? Judas Iscariot. And he's also the only man, Judas, that's called the son of perdition, John 17 verse 12. And the son of perdition is the very same name that Paul gives to the Antichrist, because it's the same spirit that is in them. The son of perdition, the man of lawlessness, 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3. And remember the Pharisees said in the time of Messiah, the Romans will take away our position and our power, because their position and their power was the most important thing to them. Not the biblical God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom they claimed to worship, pretending to be Jews, but they were actually from the synagogue of Satan. And then in the time of the Maccabees, you had the evil Jews who conspired with the Greeks for position and power, and they were conspiring against their own brothers. Like I showed you, their ultimate agenda is for Lucifer to be in control. And for that, they need the esoteric, hidden, ancient religion of the open eyes, or the pineal gland, or the Kundalini spirit that is within the serpent tree of knowledge of good and evil, that has to be the world power. And this is where the pine cone comes into play. And this is why the Rothschilds' curated artifacts collection has an enormous amount of ancient Syrian, Sumerian, and Egyptian clay tablets, archaeological finds, ancient mythologies, as well as the Bible. And yet they claim to be Jews. Why would Jews be interested in fallen angels, serpent, esoteric knowledge regarding the pineal gland that awakens to open the third eye so man can be like God? Genesis 3. Who are they really worshipping? The ancient gods. And we know these are the fallen angels of Genesis 6. And these fallen angels selected certain people to initiate them into the mystery of the gods. And these certain people can be seen throughout the Bible as the initiated ones, always rebelling against the true God, always bringing the Jews of the ancient times to idol worship, giving them a false religion that leads them to Satan worship, while they think they are worshipping the true God. And that is why the Rothschilds have this massive interest and collection of ancient artifacts, because their interest is in attaining the illuminated position of the gods. Their interest is not the Jewish people or the people of the world. And remember, Satan is using their greed and their worship, because the real true agenda is for Satan to finally take God's position. Here you need to understand Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28, and of course Genesis 3 and Genesis 6. The Star of David and the Lion of Judah is front and center of the Jewish elite's claim to their Jewish heritage. You all know the true meaning and the ancient mystic origin of the Star of David, right? The Star of David was never the sign of the Judah, or in the Hebrew, Yehudah tribe. The Star of David is an esoteric symbol of the ancient gods from above, uniting with the humans from below. As above, so below, stolen from Scripture. one triangle from above merging with the one from below, forming the Star of Ramphan, not the Star of David. David never mentioned the star, nor does anybody else in the Bible. The Star of Bethlehem, that is prophesied in the book of Numbers by Biliam, is no reason to take the Egyptian two pyramids and make it a sign for David, and then using that as a symbol for the Judah tribe. Who are the Bible talking about when it says, in the end there are Jews who lie about being Jewish, but in reality they are from the synagogue of Satan? You can find this in the book of Revelation, chapter 2 verse 9, chapter 3 verse 9. Satan was very clever to have his kingdom of darkness growing from the very center of where people would never even think to look. From the very center of the tribe of Judah, the royal tribe, Yeshua's tribe, that he was born from as king. And the Khazarian civilization worshipped Lucifer or Baal. They were located around Russia in the Ukraine. Interesting. They told everybody they were Jewish in order to avoid the outcry of people who accused them of worshipping Lucifer. Now these same fake Jews, Bolsheviks Jews, went to Israel when it formed. And these Bolsheviks or Zionists or fake Jews joined other people, other fake Jews, like the Rothschilds, the Illuminati in Israel, and the Mossad. At that time, Russia controlled the Mossad. Anyway, all you hear nowadays is anti-Semitism this and anti-Semitism that, and whatever we say against them is a crime because it's anti-Semitism. It's never ending. Have you ever heard of those who cry the loudest? Maybe have something to hide? The one demanding respect and hiding behind anti-Semitism are the bloodlines of the Illuminati, the politicians, the Hollywood corporations, the Democrats, the justice system, etc., etc. And especially these Jewish elite at the top of the pyramid, hiding behind the normal man, woman, and child from the original biblical tribe of Yehudah. Can Jews be anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic? Yet there are thousands of Jews speaking out against the Jews from the synagogue of Satan. I've got many videos of rabbis that are branded anti-Semitic. And especially this one I'm going to play for you now that says on Al Jazeera, we stand with the Palestine government and the Palestinian people. Before the Zionist occupation of Palestine, Jews lived in peace, in harmony with Muslims. And remember, you need to distinguish very carefully between the Zionist Jews from the synagogue of Satan and the normal man, woman, and child who are Jewish. Somebody like David Icke does that very well. He says, I support the innocence of Gaza bombed for the cult-owned brutality of Hamas. So Hamas is owned by the cult. And I support the innocence of Israel that's murdered by the cult-owned brutality of their own government, because the Israel government is owned by the same cult. Hamas and the Israeli government owned by the same force. Do you get it yet? Do you understand yet?
Well, Zionism is a mere 150 years. It's a transformation to nationalism, to have a piece of land. It's a political movement. It's a materialistic movement. It was started by Jews who are non-religious, and they're simply incorporating, using the name Israel, using the Star of David, and claiming that it's a God. It's given to them by God. And we who are following the Torah, who are true to the Torah, stand up adamantly refuting what they're saying.
Well, I'm here with thousands of others to say that Britain is the cause of all of this disaster. Britain, on behalf of one people, promised to a second people the land which belonged to a third people.
The Balfour Declaration was a letter dated 2nd November 1917 from the United Kingdom's Foreign Secretary, Arthur James Balfour. And he directed this letter to nobody else than Walter Rothschild, the leader of the British Jewish community. I will read a short part of this letter. Another part is read by Jacob Rothschild in the video that I'm going to play for you soon. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment of Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object. It's being clearly understood that nothing shall be done, which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of the existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in other countries. The Balfour Declaration was later incorporated into both the Sevres Peace Treaty with the Ottoman Empire and the Mandate for Palestine. And if you don't understand the difference between the House of Judah and the Synagogue of Satan Jews, then you will think I am against all Jews. The House of Judah are the God-loving, Torah-obedient, good men, women, and children from the tribe of Judah that are called Jews, who are the innocent scapegoats for their Luciferian leaders, just like they were during all biblical times, as in the times of Yeshua, as in the times of the Roman occupation, and of course during the World War II, during the Holocaust. The Synagogue of Satan Jews are the rotten serpent seed that has crept to the heart of the kingdom of David and is spreading their rotten claws from the very inside, while hiding behind anti-Semitism and causing their own brothers to die, together with innocent Muslim families who are against Hamas, just as these Jewish nephews in America did to the innocent U.S. citizens during 9/11. But the Jewish elite puppet masters who were in control of everything that happened during 9/11 also sacrificed innocent citizens of the United Nations. The Jewish elite who caused 9/11, who planned it and who executed it, also made sure that there was a sacrifice or a holocaust of innocent citizens. They have no problem to sacrifice innocent Muslims, Jews, or Americans, or in any other country, to achieve their agendas. How did the Rothschilds make their money? The Rothschilds family is the reason why so many people hate the Jews, and why Hitler could convince the Germans that the Jews stole all their wealth. The Rothschilds family is a banking dynasty that dates to the 18th century and pioneered the modern banking industry. They funded the British in its part in the French Revolution, the Napoleon Wars, and all major conflicts throughout the world. And they did this through loans. The empire spread across Europe and grew as the family grew. So did the wealth grew. Mayer de Rothschilds founded the Rothschilds banking dynasty and is known in history as the founding father of international finance. Mayer built a relationship with Crown Prince Wilhelm that led to an honorary title. It allowed him to deal with royalty, and he rapidly grew the Rothschilds empire by helping Britain finance the hire of Hessian mercenaries during the French Revolution. He sent his son across Europe to establish regional banking branches that were linked across borders. This was the first World International Bank, and these Rothschilds banks profited off giving governments loans to go to war for centuries. Females in the family were encouraged to marry with the family to maintain the wealth, encouraging interbreeding throughout the line. Like his father, Nathan Rothschilds financed the Napoleon Wars almost single-handedly, paying for the British war effort. It was done through credit and loans to the government, as the family was raised to the rank of nobility in both the Holy Roman Empire and the United Kingdom, which put these royal families and governments and religions into debt with the Jewish Rothschilds family. This gave them power. They're all members of all the exclusive social and secret societies and clubs, and more nobody can blame us for our conspiracy theories on the banking elites, their connection to ancient Sumerian gods, and their secret societies. The German philosopher Heinrich Heine said, "Money is the god of our time, and the Rothschilds are the prophets." Mayer Rothschild, 1744 to 1812, became banker to Prince William of Prussia and brought his son into the business. When Napoleon invaded Prussia, the prince sought to get his money out of the country, so he entrusted it to young Nathan Rothschilds, then working as a banker in London. Rothschild invested the money in the Napoleon Wars, smuggling it to Wellington through Spain. Meanwhile, he developed an impressive messenger service of riders and ships and carrier pigeons. He knew about Waterloo first, and then immediately sold large blocks of stock, convincing other investors, falsely convincing them, that the British have lost. As prices fell, His agents brought up the stock at rock-bottom prices. Meanwhile, Nathan's four brothers established banks in Vienna, Naples, Paris, making the Rothschilds the most powerful financial family in all of Europe.
In modern Jewish history, and it begins with three words: Dear Lord Rothschild.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet.
Why was it that this letter was sent by the Foreign Secretary to your great-uncle Walter?
So they felt that the Rothschild family should be the one to whom it was addressed. And Walter was Lord Rothschild, and he was a Zionist. And those really are the background reasons. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours, Arthur Balfour, who somehow gets to England, meets a few people, including members of my family, seduces them. He has such great charm and conviction. He gets to Balfour, and he unbelievably persuades Balfour and Lloyd George, the Prime Minister, and most of the ministers, that this idea of the national home for Jews should be allowed to take place. I mean, it's so unlikely. And then you have the bit that nothing that's to be done should in any way harm the Arab community.
Very carefully open this up because, as I said, this is an original document from 1829. And here is the article. I'll read it to you now. Jerusalem. There is a report that the Rothschilds have purchased Jerusalem. We see nothing improbable that in the pecuniary distress of the Sultan, he should sell some part of his dominions to preserve the rest, or that the Rothschilds should purchase the ancient capital of their nation. They are wealthy beyond desire.
All right,
Yeah.
I think that's the end of that video.
Yeah, and I tried to summarize everything for you guys, but it was absolutely impossible. There's just no ways. But I think the main point. So I want to now move on to Jerusalem a little bit.
Right.
Now that we understand who's behind this hidden agenda, what is it that makes Jerusalem so special? If you have to think for yourself, Scott, how do you feel about Jerusalem? Don't think about the Jews or the Muslims, but looking at the Bible, how do you feel about Jerusalem and the Holy Land?
Well, the thing that I find quite extraordinary, and it's the Temple Mount where you've got the Alaska mosque sitting at the moment. I mean, that is such a spiritual place for all of the religions, for the Muslims, for the Christians, and for the Jews. It's an incredible spot, and the book of Revelation says when that current mosque is replaced, in other words, it's a third temple or church or mosque that's been put in that spot. When that happens, that's basically the signal that the world is coming to an end as we know it. That's where everything is going to start unfolding. I just find that particular. It's an incredibly historic. It is like the center of everything we're talking about. Back to you.
It is, absolutely. Can you think of any other city that kept the same name and the same language over 4,000 years?
Mm-mm.
You know, are there any other city in the world that has existed for 4,000 years in its original state?
No.
There's nothing. Jerusalem is the only city with that specific location, with that specific religion, although it's mixed today, and with that specific language. And as the end of the Bible, like I said to you, the New Jerusalem is not going to come down into London or New York. It's coming down in the old Jerusalem's place. You know, the Jews were hated by everyone all throughout history because they were the only ones left of the 12 tribes in Jerusalem. Everyone has been after Jerusalem for 6,000 years now. And you have to remember to make a clear distinction between the Jewish population and the Luciferian Jews, please, all the time.
Right.
The sons of perdition. Sorry, you want to say something?
No, I was just clearing my throat.
I need to clear my throat. The sons of perdition. You saw I showed you there the two Bible verses in John 17. You know, why was Judas Iscariot? Do you have any idea why he was called the son of perdition? The very same name that's given to the Antichrist.
I guess because he betrayed Jesus.
Yes, it's because he betrayed Yeshua, but it's not only because of the betrayal. It's the betrayal from him specifically. Because think about this now. Of all 12 disciples, his name was Judas.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
He was the one that represents the tribe of Judah. And it was of all 12 disciples, Judas who carried the money bag.
Yeah.
So Judas, from the tribe of Judah, who carried the money bag, betrayed Yeshua, not with a knife in the back. How did he betray Yeshua?
30 pieces of silver.
Yeah, that's what he sold him. That's what he betrayed him for.
Yeah.
But how did he betray Yeshua? How did he expose Yeshua to the Roman soldiers?
Well, he walked up to Jesus and yeah.
Yes, and then?
Well, he gave him a hug.
He kissed him.
You kissed him, yeah.
He kissed him. So that's why Yeshua, in the book of Psalms, David prophesied about Yeshua, who will be betrayed by his very own brother. He will not be betrayed by an enemy or a stranger or a Satanist. He will be betrayed by his own brother. And that is why it's so important to understand how these group of world leaders are within the Judah bloodline. That's why they're not called Satanists from the synagogue of Satan. They're called Jews from the synagogue of Satan. Can you see this amazing prophecy? How even through Judas Iscariot, this is proven to us. But the sons of perdition, that the sons of unrighteousness, the wicked Jews from inside the royal tribe of Judah, they sold their souls to Satan for money and power. And so they've stolen Jerusalem, and they made God's wife, they made Jerusalem into the end-time whore of Babylon. If you read Ezekiel 16, and I really wish we had time, but there's just no time. I'm going to encourage you, please, and every one of the listeners, after tonight or tomorrow, take Ezekiel 16, read through it line by line, very carefully. Now that you understand everything I've shown you, and a new perspective on Bible prophecy will open for you. But when you read the whole Ezekiel 16, the whole chapter, you'll see the heartbreaking story of how God's wife, Israel, fornicated with idols. And in biblical terms, idolatry is adultery. And how she then became the whore of Babylon. Remember, Babylon means mixed religion or confusion. Mixing what is holy with what is abominable. And this whore in the book of Revelation rides the beast. She's riding the beast. And like I showed you in Jeremiah 31 and in Revelation 17, she calls herself a queen. And thus we can understand why the normal Jews today believe they will actually rule the world, and that through the Noahide laws they can kill all the Gentiles for idolatry, because they were made to believe they are the queen, they are still the wife, they are the wife of the God of creation, and therefore they are in control. So I'm going to ask you to play the third video for us, please, Scott.
Yeah, okay. All right, so just so everybody knows, this third video lasts for about 20 minutes, and okay.
God says in the Bible about the whore of Babylon,
Here we go.
"Come out of her, my people." Here in the end days, we are warned to come out of the whore of Babylon, not to take the genetic manipulation, not to bow before the one world government, the one world religion, the one world currency, but to come out and stay out of that whole rotten serpent soup. But if you do that, you will be persecuted and betrayed by the Pharisees who are working for the rotten serpent. Not strangers working for the serpent, but Jews sold out to the serpent. That's why they are called the Jews from the synagogue of Satan in the book of Revelation. By the Jewish banking elite ruling the world, the Noahide laws will be so much easier to force down on the whole world. The Jewish rabbis who think they are worshipping God are all falling for this, satisfied that the holiness of the God of Abraham will soon be forced down upon all. But they don't realize how this is the biggest deception from the religious spirit controlling Judaism today. The genetic manipulation through vaccination, the climate crisis, the digital dollar, the biometric ID, and all these systems that are planned, financed, and forced down by the elite bankers who claim to be Jews, and who will be the persecutors of all the Gentiles who love the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All believers, all Gentiles who believes that Yeshua is the word of this God of Abraham that came to this earth in the flesh. And I know this is true because this very same rabbi that is going through the streets of Jerusalem telling Christians that the Noahide laws will kill them when there is a Sanhedrin, I have met him personally.
You cannot prove the existence of God.
No, I can. God says in Torah, I am in your body, I am the temple. Can we go and sit there?
God doesn't say that. Actually, God says, God actually says directly that He's not found.
My ruach is in you. Can I just quickly?
Ruach does not mean God.
What is your name?
My name is Rabbi Baladir.
Rabbi Baladir.
No, not touch Shlomo.
Can we go and sit there?
You can't sit. No, but see, when you're talking Ruach, does not refer to the final. Ruach does not refer to God.
Thank you.
You see, anybody.
How do you mean? You say it's not part of creation now.
So these are the. But when you say, when God says, "I will breathe in a living soul," people think that the God is actually taken in, but the process of God putting in a living soul.
Now, to most people that know about the New World Order, they're missing one big component that we already knew 4,000 years ago. That the head of everything is the Samech Mem, or as they call him, Lucifer. They worship him. He exists, he's real, and he has a whole army behind him. They're thinking that Lucifer is the god of light. Our God, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, is the god of darkness. He brings all the problems to the world. Adam and Chava were serving him. The Nachash, the serpent, went into Gan Eden to tell them who's the real God. And they served him as the master. And for years, this is not in the last 10 years, thousands of years, it's a secret society, a secret government, a shadow government. Every government in the world has a secret government behind it that run the show. If you think that the president, the prime minister, you think they're doing it, they're puppets. 100% puppets. They control armies, nations, governments, all the money in the world, all the richest families in the world, Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and that you can think of. World War I was designed by them. World War II, designed by them. The National Reserve, which people think National Reserve belongs to the American government. It doesn't belong to the government even. It's a private organization. NASA, CIA, the assassination of JFK, who was the first one who ever talked about it, got a bullet in his head. And needless to say, the attack on the Twin Towers, it wasn't bin Laden. And you think it's different in Israel? You know that Israel was built by the Freemasons, by the way. By the Zionists. There's nothing here kosher. Who approved? Who approved the Declaration of Israel? The United Nations, of course. All the founders of the country of Israel are Freemasons. Don't be mistaken. Ben-Gurion, Rabin, Peres, Jabotinsky, all these names that everybody's, wow, whoa. You've been fooled. Why do you think the ultra-Orthodox movement is totally against the Zionism? It's against the Torah.
Hello. In the traditional motion picture story, the villains are usually defeated. The ending is a happy one. I can make no such promise for the picture you're about to watch. The story isn't over. You and the audience are part of the conflict.
United Nations headquarters, which was built in 1945 and financed largely by John D. Rockefeller. Inside UN headquarters is an ominous meditation room. The custodian of the meditation room is Lucis Trust Company. At one time, the Lucis Trust was located at 666 United Nations Plaza and was formerly named Lucifer Publishing Company. The phoenix bird is a symbol of Lucifer. Egyptians believed that the phoenix symbolized a god who rose to heaven in the form of a morning star like Lucifer after his fire immolation of death and rebirth. Notice that the phoenix bird is not standing above his own ashes. He is standing above his old skin. Like a snake, he has shed his old skin and is revealing himself as God at the center of the mural. Below the risen phoenix, a sword is driven through a dragon beast. This represents the killing of old beliefs and religions that depicted Lucifer as a beast. The New World religion worships him as beautiful. Behind the phoenix, the ghostly figures of the walking dead are stepping into a void. They symbolize depopulation. Is that humanity is stepping into a new Luciferic reality. Beneath this disturbingly prophetic mural, world leaders make global decisions that affect the lives of nearly 7 billion people.
And number 10, get the church to endorse every one of these 9 strategies. Get the church to accept these principles and to say they're okay. Then legal ground is given for these values to get a foothold.
Is the same tactic Hitler used to disunify Germany.
You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody's going to get something out of it. And it isn't going to be you.
Speaking at the World Economic Forum in January of 2021, Benjamin Netanyahu brags about how he mandated Israel citizens into becoming literal lab rats for Pfizer and Moderna. And he said, Israel could serve as a world laboratory for herd immunity. Are these the words of a man who cares deeply about the health, safety and well-being of his own people, the Jews? Or is he pushing the genetic manipulation agenda of the synagogue of Satan? Israel has the world's highest rate of vaccination and adverse reactions. Israel is at the pinnacle of this genetic movement. Not only of the genetic movement, but also of the IT. Israel has the largest social media control system. Men and women from the IDF, from the Israel Defense Force, sitting around the clock, influencing social media and crawling over all platforms to manipulate the media. The Third World War and eventually the Third Temple are all planned, financed and executed by the elite bankers. Too many Christians are ignorant about biblical context of end-time prophecy, and they think the plans of the Jews of the synagogue of Satan is actually going to bring Jesus back sooner. This is all part of the great end-day deception and the great falling away of faith and courage. How will we endure to the end if we are indoctrinated by the Luciferian plans, thinking it is biblical prophecy?
What they ought to do is evacuate up there on the hill and get a great big missile and blow that wicked Dome of the Rock plumb off of the spot where it's standing right now so we can get that third temple rebuilt and usher in the coming of Jesus.
There's no question. The Abraham Accords heralded the dawn of a new age of peace. It will enhance the prospects of peace with the Palestinians. It will encourage a broader reconciliation between Judaism and Islam, between Jerusalem and Mecca, between the descendants of Isaac and the descendants of Ishmael. All these, but there's a caveat. It has to be said here, forcefully. Peace can only be achieved if it is based on truth. It cannot be based on lies. It cannot be based on endless vilification of the Jewish people. 2 days ago, I discussed this vision of peace with President Biden. We share the same optimism for what can be achieved. And I deeply appreciate his commitment to seize this historic opportunity. The United States of America is indispensable in this effort. And just as we achieved the Abraham Accords with the leadership of President Trump, I believe we can achieve peace with Saudi Arabia with the leadership of President Biden. And here's something else within our reach. With AI, we can explore the heavens as never before and extend humanity beyond our blue planet. For good or bad, the developments of AI will be spearheaded by a handful of nations, and my country, Israel, is already among them. Just as Israel's technological revolution provided the world with breathtaking innovations, I'm confident that AI developed by Israel will once again help all humanity.
The world is indeed a stage. Just how much of it might be a bit surprising to you. Blacked out windows, blacked out engines. Here's a little bit more. See, this is what a C-17 that's not an inflatable looks like. See the windows clearly, see the engines clearly, and now look again for some more fakery. Take all the time you need. Fake news, fake history, fake clown world. We are living on nothing more than a big giant stage, an illusion by those in charge, made to instill fear to easily control the masses or to invoke fake outrage for whatever they want us to.
Running with these unverified claims has now become an international news story.
The Israeli Prime Minister's spokesman just confirmed babies and toddlers were found with their heads decapitated.
A number of international media repeated those allegations without verifying them, relying on what it turns out to be the allegations of an extremist settler.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children.
And then a mere hours later, retracting that statement with the White House issuing a correction, again saying that, well, actually Biden hadn't seen any images and was just relying on, yet again, the Israeli reports world. I have not done a thorough investigation of these allegations of mass rape or systemic rape. I have talked to a number of journalists who've been on the ground in southern Israel and asked them if they had any documentation of this, if they had any firsthand testimonies, and every single one of them has said no, they don't. So what the basis is for these allegations of rape, we don't know yet. And that is really troubling and problematic, that while the claims dominate the media headlines, the evidence is still missing.
بس في صورة
على الريكورد وليت وراه عوني عليه على الجنبي ابعدوا عني كريم محل تسكر عينيك وارجع بس ما تحب تصدق عوني.
Just so you know, this is staged.
But it's not only on the Israel side that we have a little bit of propaganda. This is the adventures of Mr. Bollywood. This is the Palestinian propaganda videos. And this same guy pops up over and over again. So far, he has died twice. He returned to life as a radiologist. He fathered a child in one of the other videos. And most recently, he was even a foreign correspondent. All the same guy. Very similar to what we saw in the 9/11 and a lot of the American school shooting videos. The same, they call them crisis actors appearing. So yes, Israel is being attacked in the most vicious ways by the Palestinians, by the Muslim fascist sides that is unfortunately propped up by the same people that's propping up the propaganda on the Israel side. So again, like David Icke said, it's done from both sides. There's atrocities on both sides. Palestinians are murdered, innocent people, and Jewish people are murdered innocently. But on both sides, there are also a huge amount of propaganda. And when we look at the propaganda and we find ourselves emotionally towards one side or the other side, we have to ask ourselves to stand back and look at the evidence. The propaganda is causing emotional conflict and division between two groups of people. And that is, of course, causing the rest of the world to then side with either one of these. And that's exactly what the Jews from the synagogue of Satan that is planning both sides, financing both sides through various ways, not directly, but that's what they want. They want to divide the world, to choose sides between these two groups. And in the meantime, they are pulling both strings.
Okay, good. Put the village behind her.
Give me some flames. How about some screaming?
Screaming's good.
Some sound of screaming. Well, you know, it might be good as ooh-ah sirens.
What the hell is ooh-ah?
You know, ooh-ah, Anne Frank.
Oh, okay, that's good, yeah.
Find us the Anne Frank sirens.
Okay, we're gonna do it again, sweetie. What's her name, Stacy?
Tracy.
Tracy, one more time, Tracy. You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Calico kitten.
Okay.
There it is. We have a small calico kitten, sir. Calico.
What?
The president wants a white one.
He wants a white one. We have a white one, please. He wants a white one.
Makes you glad you've lived this long.
And this just in, a Newsbreak special report from the Albanian front. We've just received information that the young Albanian national fleeing in this video is attempting to escape terrorist reprisals in her village. America has seldom witnessed a more poignant picture of the human race than that which armed
Fantastic.
Great. That was good.
They used the same process with the last Schwarzenegger movie.
Fantastic.
Isn't that amazing how they did that?
The Rothschilds in collaboration with Britain. It's absolutely amazing today when you see how Prince Charles became the king of Britain. And he's the king of the world now, as you saw in our previous interview about the smart future. Britain is at the forefront of everything. Why? Because the Bank of London is the center of the banking elite's headquarters. The false antichrists are put up to pave the way and make acceptance of the real antichrist that deceived all the world so much easier.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of information there.
We just
But
get out of
what
there.
I hope you saw there, especially with 1984, is just like the Jewish elite are deceiving the world today with their propaganda. I need to take you back to the crucifixion scene. You remember the Pharisees indoctrinated and deceived and convinced all the Jews during the time of Yeshua, ne?
Right.
But they also did this in conjunction with the Roman soldiers. And they did this in conjunction with Pontius Pilate. to eventually kill Yeshua and to persecute all his followers. So think about that. The population, together with religion, together with the army, the soldiers, and the government, Pontius Pilate, all of them came together to conspire against the truth and to bring the persecution along. And this is what we can expect for the end days as well.
Right. So, for an end day perspective, I guess what we've got coming up is the Third World War, which looks like it's actually started already in the Middle East. And if I'm not wrong, I believe the Bible in Revelations talks about the actual assault on Israel coming from the north. And we know that Turkey is traditionally part of Christendom in the very early days. In fact, it was the Armenians who had the first church near Turkey. That's the old Ottoman Empire. And basically, if you look at what Erdogan, who's the political leader in Turkey, is saying, he's saying that what's happening in Israel is a genocide, which flies in the face of the rest of NATO, who are basically saying that Israel are the ones who are being attacked. The hypocrisy is extraordinary, but biblically, you can see how everything is coming together.
And it actually goes a little bit deeper than that. And I really want to encourage your viewers to maybe contact me through the website that I'll give at the end, and that you might also put onto the links. I've done a very deep study on who is Israel, because in the description of who and what Israel is, you actually have a northern house and a southern house. And therefore you have a northern king and a southern king. And when you really understand the 10 northern tribes and the 2 southern tribes, then all of prophecy starts making a little bit more sense. Like you said, probably, the Ottoman Empire towards the north, in the beginning there was a bit of a Christian feeling to them. So the whole of Christendom grew out of the 10 northern tribes. And the Judaism grew out of the 2 southern tribes. So listen, it's much more complicated than just having one perspective. Many perspectives can bring you a bigger picture of this big elephant. One guy sees the elephant from the front, another guy from the back, but there's not really anybody at the moment who sees the whole big picture. And that's why we need to go back. We need to go back to this thing.
Yes.
We need to go back to the Bible. Otherwise, we are going to make the wrong assumptions on what we are seeing.
Can I just say, Nada, that the world we live in, and I've been talking about this now for several weeks, the world we live in is completely fake. Everything that's happening around us is basically orchestrated. It's like that little video clip with that woman sort of screaming with the bullets raging around. It was actually fabricated, rather like they do in Hollywood. And that is very much like the world we live in today. And this is all planned. And one of the things that I find extraordinary, I'm going to try it when I'm having my break in November. A lot of people have actually come out and said, if you get your mobile phone and turn it to Bluetooth, turn on Bluetooth, and you're in a shopping center with lots of people around, you will start picking up MAC IP addresses, which actually reflect people who've had the bioweapon. Because they are actually now, rather like your computer, which is linked to the internet, they've now actually got an IP address, which is actually inside their bodies. This mark of the beast, I mean, we talk about this bioweapon. It was developed by DARPA, who've been working with technologies that we don't even know exist. And
dream of it.
Yeah, so when we talk about something like direct energy weapons, which we know exist because we've seen the YouTube videos of them, and they can literally slice a tree in half, or create fires and so on. But the technology they actually have is so much more advanced from even that. And because we're talking about quantum physics, where everything can be miniaturized to the size of an atom, they can put just about anything they want into a vaccine, something that can assemble inside your body and create something. You've heard about all these adverse effects that people are having. We're talking about technologies which would blow you out the water if you understood actually where the world is. And we're being kept in the dark about this. And that's why anyone who gets any of these jabs today is just going to become one of their zombies. They've basically taken over. They've taken control. Now,
humanity. Your humanity.
Now, just talking about that,
Scott,
5G and 6G. Just quickly
yes.
take us through that, because this is what I'm talking about.
We would have to do another interview for that. The reason being, everything you said now, the technology is so advanced we cannot even imagine what they're busy with. I need to take you back to the beginning of the Bible, where God said the world was so corrupt and so evil in Genesis 6. And Noah was the only one that was perfect in his genealogy, actually in his genetics, because that's the reason when I talked about the weapons of mass destruction, that wasn't really the reason they needed to go into Iraq. And World War II, if you understand what Hitler did, how much money Hitler spent on his excavations in Egypt, in the ancient pyramids, there's a reason why these guys are so much linked to Kabbalah and to the esoteric Luciferian ancient mythology of the Watchers and the fallen angels. Because, like Yeshua said, as in the days of Noah, so it will be in the end days as well. The technology of the fallen angels is what they need for their enlightenment, and for them to be in control, and for them to bring Lucifer into power. Lucifer has always wanted to be in power. That is why he deceived Adam and Eve. He told them 3 things. He said, you will not die, first of all. Your eyes will be opened, secondly, and you will be like God. Those 3 things are what they are planning. Not only with the vaccination, but with all the rest of the steps.
Can I just interrupt you there? Because what you're saying is not for the useless eaters like everybody listening to this live stream, that this eternal life is only destined for the chosen few. They're going to have everything planned and prepared by robots. Artificial intelligence will basically determine who and who doesn't survive amongst the wider humanity. Rather like in that book 1984, if you don't follow...
And the Brave New World.
And the Brave New World.
Yeah. You guys must read that.
If you don't follow their policies, instructions, agendas, protocols to the T, you will be exterminated, because you are just lower than the cattle that wander around the fields on farms. That's how they see us as useless eaters. And can I just say,
us cattle. The Noahide laws actually calls us cattle.
Yeah, but can I just say that's why what's happening in the Gaza Strip today, the Zionists don't see the Palestinian women and children as humans. They see them as animals. They see them as rats. They see them as lower than humanity. That's why they have absolutely no concerns about what they're doing right now in Gaza, which is committing a genocide, which is rather extraordinary when you consider what happened to the real Jews during the Second World War, where a Holocaust was committed. You've now got the Zionist clique who are now committing a Holocaust against the Palestinians on the Gaza Strip. And they're doing it and hiding behind the protection of labels like anti-Semitism. And if anyone attacks them, they say, oh, what about the Holocaust? You know, the hypocrisy is just extraordinary. and it's been fed by the fake mainstream media, which have their own narrative when it comes to these sensitive subjects. Back to you.
Don't forget that these people have sacrificed their own people. They are now holocausting, like you say, the innocent Muslims. Don't forget, Hamas is also financed by these same groups of people. So Hamas is the same. They also don't view the Jews as human.
Hamas is actually funded and actually supported by the Central Intelligence Agency.
And who owns them?
Well, guess. The Rothschilds.
And who caused, if you remember, Burundi and all the genocides that happened in that African continent?
Are you talking about Rwanda?
About the slaughter in Rwanda.
Between
all
the
of those,
Houthis and the...
really going to the background of these genocides. There's an agenda behind each and every one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. All right. Well, look, we'll leave 5G and 6G for another live stream. But
we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But Genesis 6 and 6G, it's not a coincidence. But we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. Nada, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been a fabulous presentation by you. I mean, I've hardly been involved, but your knowledge, understanding, and perspective on these end times is incredibly enlightening. I mean, I've learnt a lot tonight, and I can see in the side chat that a lot of people are saying the same thing. And the biggest thing is quite simply that everything happening around us is fake. There's going to be a food crisis in the near future. And that's been planned. It's not because of what's happened in Ukraine or anything else. It's been planned, and it's one of the tools that'll be used to force humanity to get down on bended knees and do the bidding of those that would rule over us. So this is all planned, and it's tied up with the World Economic Forum, with what Klaus Schwab famously said a couple of years ago now, that by 2030, you will own nothing, but you will be happy.
Well, you know what? I haven't even been able to finish. I still have so much left, but I'll actually do another video, and I'll show you where to find it as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something now. What was it? No, you said something that was interesting. Now it's out of my head. Anyway, not to worry. Scott, maybe I can quickly share my screen.
Yeah,
I just wanted to show your viewers the website.
Yeah.
So this is the Two Trees in the Garden of Eden Bible Study website.
I'll be putting the link to this website down below the video.
Please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please do that. So there you've got Facebook and BitChute and YouTube. So the normal Bible studies that will really, really teach you so much is on YouTube. But then the rest of tonight's study that me and you haven't even gotten to, I will record it and complete it and put it onto the BitChute channel. So on the BitChute channel is all the controversial videos that YouTube has blocked me for in the past that I can't put onto YouTube again. That's what I wanted to say. If you look at the four horses of the apocalypse in the book of Revelation, that hasn't started yet. The four horses, famine and death and disease. COVID wasn't. People say COVID was from God, or COVID is the black horseman that brings disease and death. COVID is still only a fraction of what is coming. So the four horsemen of the apocalypse is not even here yet. And look at how much they've already achieved.
Yeah. No, exactly. Now, you mentioned there's still something you wanted to discuss. Just go ahead. We've got time. So, is there something more?
How much time do we still have?
As much as you like. Let's go. Let's finish this off. Over to you.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to run through this quickly. I wanted to show you how in the time of the Maccabees, the Maccabees was between the last book of the Old Testament and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. There's a 400 year period that you won't find in your normal Bible. But when you have Bibles like, this one of mine, you actually have all those books that the Roman Catholic Church has taken out.
Can you go back to your screen? Stop sharing?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Am I still sharing?
Yeah, that's okay.
Stop sharing.
There you go. That's better.
All right, how's that?
Much better.
So Bible, this is your, let me do this. This is your normal Bible, and then this is the Bibles that I study. Wow. So in these bigger Bibles, you've got your Greek and your Hebrew, and you've got all the Bibles that the Roman Catholic Church has taken out. So what's interesting is during the time of the Maccabees, this period between the Old and the New Testament that not many people know about, the Jews inside of Jerusalem and Israel made peace with the Greeks, because after the Babylonians, the Persians took over, and then the Greeks, Alexander the Great, took over from the Persians, and then the Roman system took over from the Greeks. But in this period of Antiochus Epiphanes, however you pronounce his name, in his time was when he blasphemed God, and he slaughtered a pig on the altar, and that's what Daniel also refers to in the past as the abomination of desolation that Yeshua says will happen again in the future. And that's got both a physical and a spiritual side. But anyway, during the time of the Maccabees, it was the Jews that made peace with the Greeks. And the Jews brought their own people, just like today, under the rule of, first of all, the Greeks and then the Romans. And these evil Jews, because they conspired with the Greek leaders, they were appointed as rulers over their own people. And they brought their own people in subjection to first the Greeks and then later to the Romans. So the state of Israel today as well, in 1948, that is not biblical prophetic fulfillment. I know I'm going to make lots of people angry, because people say, in 1948, can a nation be born in one day? Maybe they must read that whole chapter of the prophet that says a nation will be born in one day. And in that day, the peace, the everlasting peace will begin. So if we look at 1948 up to today, have we seen everlasting peace? No, we haven't. So long story short, the state of Israel in 1948 is not biblical prophetic fulfillment, but it has been financed and forced by the Rothschilds, as I showed you with the Balfour Declaration. Yeah. The state of Israel is not Yahuwah, the God of Abraham's promised land, but it's the state of the Jews from the synagogue of Satan. Remember, Yeshua said to the Pharisees, your father is the devil. And sadly, so many innocent Jews from all over the world believe, and Christians believe, that the state of Israel is the fulfillment of prophecy. And as I said over and over again, please, we have to distinguish between the synagogue of Satan and the innocent Jews. I want to quickly tell you what the tribe of Judah, the Jews come out of the tribe of Judah. I want to tell you what they did right.
Right.
In scripture, the tribe of Judah always went out first in battle. They are fearless. Judges 1 verse 2. Judah always camped first around the tabernacle in the wilderness. Numbers chapter 2. Judah has been chosen by God as the royal tribe from which the scepter of the king will never depart. Genesis 49 verse 10. When you see Jerusalem surrounded, then the Messianic Jews must flee to the mountains. This happened historically in AD 70, and it will happen again in the end. If you look at Luke 21 verse 20. And then Judah, what they did right, they repented. Judah was the man, the brother of Joseph, that repented of rejecting and selling Joseph to the Egyptians. Genesis 44 verse 18. Judah, the tribe of Judah, birthed Yeshua. He comes from the tribe of Judah. Judah has never been divorced. The house of Judah has never been divorced. Read Jeremiah 3 verse 8. Only the 10 northern tribes, called the house of Israel, was divorced by God. The Jews kept on keeping the Sabbath day and the laws of the father of the house. And they are the older brother, you remember the parable of the prodigal son? The older brother stayed home, while the younger brother, representing the Gentile nations, went out away from the father's house. So those are a few things that Judah has done right. What Judah did wrong that we can see from biblical prophecy, realizing today, is that from inside Judah, there came many antichrist figures. For instance, if you look at Absalom, the son of King David. And for that, you need to do the 2 Trees Bible studies, because we go through all the historical, messianic, and antichrist Luciferian figures, so that you can understand biblical prophecy. What Judah did wrong, they brought us the Pharisees. They have the blood of Messiah on their hands. What they're doing wrong, they're following the Talmud, they're following their rabbis, and therefore they are helping in the rising of the Jews from the synagogue of Satan.
No.
They're putting them in world domination.
Sorry, Mud, I just want to ask you something, just clarification. Yeah. My understanding is that the Talmud says that the Jews will, until the return of the Messiah, will not have a home, that they will be just wandering around like they were before the State of Israel was formed. So that basically in itself states that this is a false country. It's actually not basically blessed by God. It's actually there's something very wrong, because the Talmud says that the Jews will not have a country. They will be roaming around until God or the Messiah returns, and then they will have Jerusalem. Do you have a comment on that?
I do, and that's going to take me not one interview, but 3.
Well, just in summary, am I right? In summary, am I right what I say?
But very, very short. If you will look at the book of Revelation, it talks about the woman that had this the 12 stars above her head, and the sun, and she was standing on the moon, and she was ready to give birth, and the dragon was standing ready to devour the child. So that is the tribe of Judah. According to me, I can be wrong, but that's how I interpret it. Because why? It says in Revelation 12, if you read the whole chapter, this woman, after she gave birth to Messiah, she will be taken into the wilderness. The dragon will try to devour her, to destroy her, but God will come to her rescue, and she will be looked after for 42 months. Then the Bible says, the dragon, because he can't destroy her, will then go after the remnant of her seed. And those are the people who follow the word of God and understand the prophecy or the witnessing of Messiah Yeshua. That you'll find in Revelation 12, verse 17. So here we can clearly see the 2 groups. Now, if we go back again to the beginning of the Bible, I'm going to give you one verse, Deuteronomy 4. Deuteronomy 4 talks about how Israel, one part of Israel, will become totally separated from the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they will be scattered into all the world, into every tribe, nation, and tongue. So both the Jewish rabbi on the street that I showed you, it took us, it was a 3-hour conversation we had with him there in the streets. He didn't want to listen to any of the prophecies that I showed him out of the Old Testament. Because remember, they don't read the New Testament. Yeah. But that's why I didn't even talk about the New Testament. I only showed him Old Testament. There's a certain amount of people right throughout every tribe, nation, and tongue that is returning to the God of Abraham. And they are the ones that must be regathered by the hand of the true Messiah to be reunited with the older brother, like in the prodigal son, so that they can live together in the house in Jerusalem, in the promised land. So that is something that we as humans cannot do. So although I don't believe 1948 is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy at all, some part of that, how the Jews are slowly being gathered already shows some part of the women that's being gathered in Jerusalem. And I believe it will now, as the end days are coming, more Jews will actually go to Jerusalem. Not because of the Rothschilds. They did 1948, but out of their own efforts. They will go there. And then when the abomination of desolation is set up, the true Jews, the ones who worship the God of Abraham, will flee into the wilderness. And that's when Lucifer or the dragon will wage war against the remnant of the seed. You know, Yeshua came from the tribe of Judah. Genesis 3:15 says, the seed of the woman, showing to Yeshua, will crush the head of the seed of the serpent. So we need to understand the seed of the woman, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yeshua says, if you believe in me, you are the seed of Abraham. So there's much more to understand than just what we read on one level. We need to understand history and prophecy to understand the future. I remind you, Isaiah 46 verse 10, God says he declares the end out of the beginning. We need to study and study the beginning so we can understand the end.
Right. Okay. Now, I'm going to have to wrap this live stream up, even though I'm really enjoying. I mean, you've got a immense knowledge on this subject, and that's what makes these live streams so incredibly
Well, I want to remind you, remember what happened with Daniel. Daniel saw all these things, and he started getting really sick. And he said to God, tell me what these prophecies mean. And what did God say to him? Seal the prophecies, Daniel. It's not for your time. It's for the time in the end. Many will go to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. So it's now time for us to go to and fro between the pages of the Bible, because the prophecies are being broken open for us in the end days. If we obey the calling, the voice of God, and we return to him through his word. And remember, his word became flesh through Yeshua. We need to return to the God that created everything, that made the Garden of Eden, where I believe, and I can be wrong, at the geographical location where Jerusalem is now. That is why in the end, the new Jerusalem is set to come down on Mount Zion in the old Jerusalem. Because again, it's all about Jerusalem.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Marta, once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And, look, we're definitely going to have you back soon. I think we're fully booked for the rest of the year with live streams, but probably in 2025. But look, is there a final message you'd like to give anybody? And then after that, if you wouldn't mind saying a closing prayer for us.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Thank you very much. I'm going to take the opportunity and just share the website again. It's very, very important for people, if they enjoy tonight and if they realize they don't really know their Bibles, therefore they don't have the knowledge that will be needed to give them wisdom so that they can endure without being deceived. They need to start doing the intensive Bible study sessions that I have. If I can just quickly maybe click here on the link to the YouTube channel. So here on the YouTube channel of Two Trees, if you go to the playlist, for instance, you can see there's over 700.
Wow.
There's 722 videos already. Wow. So the best would be down here, if you can look here, daily scripture studies in the book of Genesis. You know, people need to start there. You've got jots and tittles where Yeshua is really explained.
Sorry,
Sorry?
I know Marius is watching this live stream, and he has a daily bread section in the forums. Marius, you might like to have a look at this particular page. I will, if you like, send you the link by email. Just let me know in the side chat, because I think what Marta is showing here could be a really valuable resource for our community. Back to you, Marta.
No, thank you very much. I would love that. And then, for instance, here's a whole playlist on who is Israel. So if you view this whole playlist, who is Israel? Who's the 10 tribes? Who's the 2 tribes? Who are the Jews? Who are the Gentiles? This is very important to understand from a biblical perspective. And sometimes it might mean that we have to be honest that we only have a perspective from tradition, what we've traditionally been taught about these things. And then, of course, if you go to the BitChute channel, that's where all the controversial stuff is. So there's a couple of very interesting things there to learn as well.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
So that is my wish, is that people will return to the Bible.
Yeah.
Both Jew and Gentile, both Muslim and Christian. There's a surah or a verse in the Quran that says, if you are in doubt about anything, go to the people of the book. Who are the people of the book? The people of this book.
Right.
Even the Muslims know that.
Yeah. Marta, thank you so much. And over to you to close this live stream in prayer.
Father, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your name be hallowed. May your name not be blasphemed by the people who have stolen your name, who have transgressed your instructions for us to bring glory to you. Father, may your kingdom come, not the kingdom of darkness, but the kingdom that your Son, the servant that has been prophesied all through the Old Testament, my servant David, will rule and reign with a rod of iron, and all the people will be drawn unto him. May your kingdom come, Father. If not in this world, because we have to understand that we cannot pray away the persecution. We have to prepare so that we are not caught like a thief in the night. We have to prepare. So we know your kingdom will take some time to come in this world, because the beast must first rule and reign. But we pray that your kingdom can come in our hearts, in our houses, in our marriages, in our families, in our communities, Father, in our churches. Let your kingdom come. Father, let your will be done, as above, so below, as in heaven, so on earth. Your will, Father, not my will or that group or the synagogue of Satan's will, Father, but your will. Even like you did with Pharaoh and Nebuchadnezzar and all your enemies thought they are winning, but your will is much bigger than their small human plans. And that's what I pray, for your name to be hallowed, for your kingdom to come, for your will to be done. And I can pray this only in the name above all names, the name of our Savior, the Redeemer, your word that became flesh, that you sent into this world, so that through the blood covenant we have a chance to be reconciled with you and see your new Jerusalem one day. In the name of Yeshua, I pray. And if you agree with me, Scott, then we say, Amen.
Amen. Absolutely. Marta, thank you, and have a good sleep. My gosh, you must be tired after firing away for 2.5 hours. But it's been absolutely...
No, I can do this every night. No, that's fine.
It's been absolutely riveting, and I can tell you that the comments in the side chat here just are glowing as to how much people have learnt through this discussion, and that's
I'm
what
so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. Really, I am.
Yeah. Now, just so everybody knows, because of Censorship City, I will be taking this video off Censorship City, and we'll be putting it into 2 parts. So it'll be part 1 and part 2, which will both be about an hour and a quarter, so that it's not just one heck of a long live stream. That's going to take me a while to set up and do that, but it's important we do that because the information here is extraordinary. So the only place...
Scott, sorry, can I ask you there? I haven't actually finished with everything I wanted to share with you tonight, so I'll be making part 3 and part 4. Once I've made that, I will retransfer that to you.
Yes, and
and
I'll
maybe
put them
if you
up.
want, you can add it.
Absolutely, I can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Now that's fantastic. Wow, part 3 and part 4. This is extraordinary. Okay, lovely. Marta, take care and have a great evening.
Thanks and enjoy your break. I hope you can put your phone away and just enjoy whatever you're doing.
I'm going to stay away from the computer for a few weeks. I'm just going to,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Scott, and thank you to everybody for your comments. And I hope to see you on the Bible study group soon.
Okay, take care and bye for now.
Okay, bye.
All right, guys, that was Marta, and wow, what an amazing revelation that was. I mean, wow. You know, I love discussions like that because you learn so much, and you can never stop learning, and that's the beauty about having guests on like we do. And in wrapping up this live stream, I just want to say that we're going to go out with the theme song Op ons rots, and thank you to the mods for looking after the side chat. And see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Johannesburg time. Have a great evening, everybody. Bye for now.